Night pressed against the glass tower of Apex Global, its lights thinning floor by floor until only the 20th remained alive. Inside, Liam Vance wrung out his mop, the echo of water dripping into the bucket, the only sound left to remind him he existed. The world upstairs didn't know his name. He was the man who arrived when everyone else had gone home, the one who cleaned away the day so others could start fresh. He paused in the marble lobby, eyes tracing the shape of the Fazioli grand piano displayed like a trophy. Once he'd lived by such instruments. 10 years earlier, he'd played in a military orchestra until a drunk driver ran a red light and ended his wife's life. Since then, music had been too sharp to touch. But tonight, something inside him cracked open. Liam pulled off his gloves, wiped his hands on his coveralls, and sat at the bench. His fingers hovered, hesitant, then pressed down. Not Mozart, not Bach. Jazz. Notes bent and breathed, weaving pain into something that felt almost like grace. He closed his eyes and let memory guide the rhythm. The sway of his wife's hair, the laughter that used to fill their kitchen, the silence that replaced it. He didn't see the elevator open 2 floors above. In the penthouse apartment across town, Evelyn Reed stood behind tinted glass, watching her daughter's piano lesson unfold on a monitor. Aurora, 11, blind since birth, sat upright before another grand piano. Her tutor, an austere man in a crisp vest, tapped the metronome like a verdict. "Again," he commanded. Aurora's fingers stumbled. "It feels cold," she murmured. "Mozart shouldn't feel cold." "Music isn't about feelings," the tutor snapped. Evelyn muted the audio feed, exhaling in irritation. Structure, precision, control, that was how the world stayed safe. She had built Apex Global on those principles and intended to build her daughter's future the same way. But that night, a system crash pulled her back to the office. With the babysitter delayed, she took Aurora along, settling the girl in a quiet VIP room stocked with audiobooks. "I'll be back soon," Evelyn promised, already half on her phone. Aurora lasted 15 minutes. Then the hum of machines became unbearable, a cage of sound with no melody. Somewhere beneath, faint but alive, came a pulse of music. Raw, unpredictable, full of colors she'd never felt in her lessons. She followed it like a thread through the corridors, hand gliding along cool walls, tapping her cane to count steps. The closer she drew, the warmer the air became. When she reached the lobby, the song was spilling across marble like liquid light. She stopped, breathing it in. The man at the piano didn't notice her until the final chord faded. "That was beautiful," Aurora said softly. "It smelled like cedar smoke and felt dark blue." Liam spun around, startled. "Who's there?" "Aurora," she said, smiling toward the sound of his voice. "Who are you?" He hesitated. "Just the janitor." "No," she shook her head. "You're the only one who makes this building alive." He didn't know what to answer, but for the first time in years, Liam stayed. And together, in the quiet heart of a sleeping skyscraper, 2 people who lived in silence found each other through sound. It became their secret ritual. On nights when Evelyn worked late, Aurora would slip away from the guest room, guided by memory and the smell of lemon wax from Liam's cleaning supplies. He taught her not the rigid scales her tutors demanded, but how to listen differently, to let emotion shape the keys. "Every chord has a color," Liam told her. "You just have to feel where it wants to go." Aurora giggled. "Then this one is golden, and that one tastes like rain." They would play until the first hint of dawn glowed through the glass. Liam always left before the day crew arrived, returning to his life of invoices and medical bills for his son, Sam, whose therapy consumed most of his paychecks. For Aurora, those lessons were oxygen. But the shift didn't go unnoticed. Her next classical lesson ended in chaos. "You're off tempo again," the tutor barked. "I'm not," Aurora insisted. "You're playing the wrong color. It's supposed to shine, not march." The man froze. "What nonsense." Evelyn entered at that moment. The argument cut short, but the damage lingered. The tutor quit the next day, citing creative defiance. That night, Evelyn confronted her daughter. "You've been sneaking out, haven't you?" Aurora stayed silent. Her hands folded, the same way she folded them when the world went dark. Evelyn's voice softened despite herself. "Sweetheart, whoever you've been talking to, it isn't safe." Still no answer. Evelyn closed the door gently, but suspicion rooted deep. A week later, Liam sat alone at the piano, trying to replay the melody he and Aurora had created. The keys under his fingers felt heavier than usual. He realized he couldn't recall his wife's face anymore, only her silhouette in the glow of stage lights. Panic surged. When Aurora finally found him again, he confessed, voice low and shaking. "I'm losing her," he said. "I can't remember the sound of her laugh." Aurora reached out, touching his hand. "Then play her for me. Show me her color." And so he did. Together they built a portrait in sound, a trembling blues line rising into bright chords that shimmered like sunlight on water. Liam's tears fell on the ivory keys, but he didn't stop. When the last note died, the lobby was utterly still. "That," Aurora whispered, "is the color of love that never leaves." The next morning, Evelyn noticed the scent clinging to her daughter's coat. Beeswax and lemon. Her breath caught. That combination was used only by the janitorial team on the lobby piano. Muy do, Aurora had called it. Evelyn closed her laptop, heart pounding. By midnight she was back at the office, shoes silent against the marble, the hum of the servers pulsing through her chest. She moved toward the lobby and stopped at the heavy double doors. From inside came the sound of laughter and jazz. She stood there, hand on the handle, unable to move. Evelyn pushed the door open a fraction. Through the gap, she saw her daughter seated beside the janitor, Liam Vance, their hands moving in perfect rhythm over twin keyboards. Aurora's face glowed with joy, her laughter rising like music itself. Liam guided her gently, adjusting the tempo, listening, responding. Evelyn's throat tightened. This was what she had chased through tutors and therapy programs, connection, and it had bloomed without her permission. For a long moment she simply listened, tears tracking down her cheeks. Then the song ended, and silence filled the room like light. Liam turned, startled to see her there. "Mrs. Reed, I'm sorry, I shouldn't." But Aurora leapt up, radiant. "Mom, we just made a song about a storm. It feels orange and tastes like the sea." Evelyn looked at her daughter, then at the man who had somehow understood her child better than anyone else in the world. Her anger dissolved. Only humility remained. She stepped forward. "How?" she asked quietly. "Did you learn her language?" Liam hesitated, then told her. About the nights, the jazz, the way Aurora listened in colors, about his own losses, about a little boy waiting at home who taught him patience. By the time he finished, Evelyn was sitting beside the piano, her hands trembling on her knees. "You've given her something I couldn't," she said. "Not discipline. Freedom." Weeks later, the lobby of Apex Global filled with music again. This time, invited. A banner read Multisensory Music Initiative for Children Who Hear Differently. Evelyn had used the company's resources to found a foundation honoring the unlikely friendship that had changed them all. And at its head, wearing a simple black shirt instead of coveralls, stood Liam Vance, newly appointed program director. On stage, Aurora played beside her best friend Sam, their small hands moving confidently across a keyboard that vibrated with colored lights. The audience, executives, parents, children, fell silent, watching wonder spread across the room. Evelyn stood near the back, the glow of the performance reflecting in her eyes. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking about metrics or quarterly goals. Only this. Her daughter's laughter, the rhythm of possibility, and the man whose music had stitched their broken worlds together. Liam caught her gaze across the crowd. She nodded once, quiet recognition between equals. The final chord rang out, bright and full. Aurora turned toward the sound of applause, her face lifted toward the light. Liam rested his hands on the keys, listening to the echoes fade. For him, the notes no longer carried grief. They carried home. And behind the glass walls of Apex Global, where silence once ruled, music lived again. And if you've stayed with us to the very end, thank you for listening to this story of music, loss, and second chances. If it touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you won't miss tomorrow's story. Another journey of hope, love, and the quiet miracles that change lives.